Well, thanks for coming. I know the weather is crappy, and so sometimes it's hard to get people out of their house, and that's one of the things we'll talk about too in this presentation are the factors of why people get kind of down in the dumps during the winter. So again, my name is Corrina. I'm with SSM Health at Home. So SSM Health is a very big system now. We own a lot of different locations. We joined with the Ignition Systems up in Fond du Lac, and the Monroe Clinic is now SSM Health. And I work with the Home Health, Hospice, Palliative Care, Medical Equipment Division. So we provide services right in the home, wherever you call home. And our services are covered through insurance. Hello. And so all you have to do is talk with your doctor if you or someone you know needs home health services. So if anyone has any questions about that after the presentation, feel free to let me know, and I can talk to you about that as well. So let me just get these passed out for the people that just came in. There you go. Yes, well that's good, right? That's one of the things we'll talk about today too. All right, well, you can take home a copy, give it to someone else. All right, so we are going to get started. So the first thing that I'm going to ask you guys, if you want to participate a little bit, is how do you all feel during the winter? Can anyone give me some words, like some feelings that they have during these winter months? Claustrophobic, so maybe we're stuck inside a lot. So we're just feeling like, oh my gosh, I need to get outside. Yes, there's no fresh air. So yeah, claustrophobic is very common. One of the things I hear. What else? Tired, yes. We'll talk about that a lot too. People get so tired during the winter, and there's a lot of different factors that contribute to that. What else? Yes, you're not motivated, right? Either due to the weather. So, you know, that ambition is a really big thing for a lot of people. They hibernate in the winter, right? Just like bears, humans hibernate a lot of times as well. So those are just a few things. Some other things that we'll look at, how do we feel? So overall mood changes, right? So it can kind of go in waves. So sometimes we can be excited for winter to come because we're like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing the pretty snow. I'm looking forward to Christmas, looking forward to Thanksgiving. So in the beginning, I feel like sometimes people look forward to maybe winter. Maybe some people that like winter sports, they really look forward to doing things in the winter. But then other people dread it. So there can be a lot of different emotions. Depression, we see a lot of depression. It's even called seasonal affective disorder. Ironically, SAD. So those are the symbols for that. So a lot of times when people can't get over that depression, they actually have to go in and talk with a doctor and get on medication short term to kind of get them through that winter season. So we see that quite a lot in patients as well. So knowing when your depression is just maybe mild and maybe things that you can do to self-manage depression, you might not need medication. But when it comes to something that's really affecting your daily life, you can't find any other self-help things that are working, that gets to the point where you might need to talk to a healthcare professional. How about irritable or upset, worried? A lot of people hate driving in the winter. They get a lot of anxiety about that ice and the snow, and so they just want to stay home. So again, we're seeing a lot of seclusion in the winter due to a lot of different things. People just not wanting to be out and about. And then, you know, upset. People get upset during the winter as well. Maybe they're like, why can't I live in Arizona or Florida? You know, why don't I have the money to be a snowbird, right? So there's a lot of different emotions that go on. One thing that you guys mentioned, feeling tired and sluggish. So it's hard to wake up in the morning because when you wake up, it's still dark. That is a very hard thing for people because our body's circadian rhythm responds to light. and darkness. That's our circadian rhythm, is our body's sleep-wake cycle. So when we wake up in the morning and it's still pitch black out, it's really hard for our bodies to get going. And then also, in turn, at night, it's getting darker a lot earlier. I remember when winter first kind of starts getting here, it's dark at 4:30. I get off work, I'm still working at 4:30, and it's already really dark. So then your brain clicks, and it's like, it's dark, it's time to go to bed. So people get tired way earlier because of those sunlight changes. And then also, we have a lack of sunshine in the winter. There was that time, I think 14 or 12 to 14 days of no sun we had not too long ago. And that can be really depressing and add to people's mood changes, energy levels. So there's so many factors. And that's why this presentation will talk about some tips of how to kind of get over those things. Looking at anxiety and depression, we talked about the seasonal affective disorder, so that's what that one is referring to. And the last point there, it says we tend to alter our eating habits. So for example, eating heartier meals and eating more sugar. So that sugar is going to have a direct impact on possibly making you tired. It's a very common thing for a lot of people, and you think about it, I mean, Halloween, we already start getting all those candy bowls sitting out at businesses we go to, trick-or-treating, family members bringing candy to you. So we already start ourselves at Halloween eating extra sugar. And then we go into Thanksgiving, where we have all the pies and the big hearty meals and all that extra stuff, which we look forward to. And then we go into Christmas. The whole month of December, people are usually passing out cookies, they have treats, there's winter parties. So our diet in the winter tends to have a lot more sugar than the rest of the year. So that's another thing that can contribute to us being tired. Sugar is one of the biggest things that can affect our health. There's been even research looking at sugar feeding cancer cells, sugar causing inflammation in the body. So it's one of the things when you're looking at changing your diet to really pay attention to how much sugar are you actually eating. I talk to people about looking at it visually. So like a sugar packet, when you go into a restaurant, usually sugar packets have about 2 grams of sugar, depending on the packet. So if you look at a soda or juice and it says that it has 40 grams of sugar, try to think of that visually and think of how many sugar packets you'd actually have to dump into that drink. So when you kind of correlate it visually, you're like, oh my gosh, that is a lot of sugar. When we do conferences, we have on our table, we have different drinks, and then we have little containers that have the amount of sugar that's in each drink, and people have to match up what they think each drink has. And Mountain Dew has like 75 grams of sugar. It is astronomical. And you think of the American diet and how common it is for people to drink juices, and you think, oh, juice is healthy, but think of how much added sugar they put in that juice. So it's better to just grab, if you're really craving that orange juice, maybe just grab a fresh orange, and you're getting that more natural sugar. You're not getting the preservatives and the additives and things like that. So really be cautious of sugar. And then those comfort foods, we've got the gravy and the mashed potatoes, the dressings, the thick stews. So a lot of those comfort foods can also have a lot of sodium in there as well. So again, looking at your sodium intake, being cautious of loading up on too many unhealthy carbohydrates. So your diet can play a huge role in the winter of affecting not only our weight, our energy levels, but also our mood. So there was a research study that looked at children that had ADD, attention deficit disorder, and they went through a study and they changed the children's diets to eliminate these sugars, these excess carbs, this excess sodium, and their attitudes, their personalities, their moods, everything changed for the positive. So they show that food has a direct correlation with how our brain responds. It's called the brain-gut axis. Our stomachs and our brains are literally connected. So when I used to work in functional medicine, and all the doctors in that field would say food is medicine, because there's tons of disorders and diseases that can change literally by just changing your diet. And the foods that we eat can actually change the way we feel. There's a lot of foods that are classified as inflammatory for a lot of people, sugar being the top of that list, but gluten can be inflammatory for some people. Milk, lactose types of products can be inflammatory, so sometimes it's good if you feel like you're reacting negatively to some foods to go in and have a food sensitivity test done. They will test you a bunch of different foods and see which ones you're sensitive to. Some people, maybe they can't eat almonds. People do have food sensitivities to almonds. And just because your skin isn't breaking out in a rash when you eat a certain food doesn't mean that it's not causing inflammation in your body that you can't really see, but eventually you're going to end up feeling down the road. So just keep that in mind. The diet is a really huge part that plays in our overall mood. So the next one there, it says, why do we feel this way? So the days get shorter and colder. So winter solstice, that's December 21st. It's the shortest day of the year. So at least we're over that, right? Now we're starting to gain more sun back, so we're on the positive uphill swing. But winter solstice is that kind of point where we just feel like, oh my gosh, I feel like we have 3 hours of daylight. You know, it really feels like you have a short day. So that's one of the reasons why we talk about lack of sunshine. We spend more time indoors, so that claustrophobic feeling you mentioned. We're always inside. It's funny, I mentioned this to my husband the other day. I'm like, one day we are gonna have a home somewhere in Arizona or Florida where we could go in the winter. And he's like, no, I'm just gonna winterize our place. You know, we're gonna have a big shed and we won't ever have to go outside, you know, in the winter. He doesn't wanna move for some reason. And I'm like, but then we're never gonna be outside. We're gonna be inside or outdoors. We're gonna be inside all the time. And that, I just can't do that. Being inside after a while makes people kind of crazy. So the next one there, we tend to be more sedentary, which affects our level of energy and interest in activities. So again, we're sitting around a lot more, and that directly affects our blood flow. They say that you're not supposed to sit more than an hour at a time. You're supposed to get up, you're supposed to walk around, you're supposed to start moving, because that blood flow has a direct effect on a lot of things. So if we have cold hands, cold feet, not just because it's cold out, but if you're experiencing that you're always getting those cold hands, cold feet, it might be an indication of poor blood flow. So you might want to have a conversation with your healthcare provider about that. A lot of times that's one of the signs of poor circulation. One of the doctors I worked with in the past, he said cold hands, cold feet, cold brain. Because if you do have poor circulation, a lot of times it means that your brain is also not getting proper blood flow. And over time that can affect your memory, your concentration, your focus. So blood flow, again, is a very important thing. And hopefully you all are trying to be active even in the winter, even though it's hard. But I know there's a lot of people that will go to the mall in the winter and they'll just walk around inside. They get some form of exercise. My mom was always like, oh, walking isn't going to do much. I'm like, just please try it. Just every single day, just walk. And she was very surprised that after weeks gone by, and then all of a sudden she just stopped. I don't know why. But she noticed a big difference in her energy. So when people think that walking isn't that big of a deal or it's not that great of an exercise, it makes a big difference for a lot of people. So I'd highly encourage you guys to keep up some form of physical activity during the winter, even stretching. There's a lot of things you can do right in the home to build muscle, to build balance. You were talking about the stepping on course that I know comes around a lot. I've heard really amazing things about the stepping on course. So building that muscle mass and that balance is very important, especially as we get older. Wisconsin was actually just rated the #1 state for most fatal falls. It's not because of beer, it's not because of ice and snow, that's what a lot of people thought. More falls actually happen in the summer months than in the winter months in Wisconsin. And that's because we're outside, we're more active, we're not paying attention. The shifts in the cement in the sidewalks can have a big change here in Wisconsin. But then in the winter, people are more cautious. They know that there's snow and ice outside, so they're paying attention more. So the brain is already focused on that. So a lot of falls can be prevented. So increasing your balance, increasing your awareness, making sure you have proper shoes, even in the home. We see a lot of falls happen in the home all the time, and it can be just because someone doesn't have the placement of furniture right. Maybe they're always catching their foot on the side of a dresser or table or bed. So we do a lot of home assessments, and we'll go in and we'll actually look and see placement of things, and we've actually helped people to kind of move things around before. So that's also something to keep in mind too. When you're doing that activity, it's going to help to prevent falls. The next one there, our eating habits change. We crave more comfort food. We talked about that already. The next one's circadian rhythm. So we'll go into this a little bit more. Again, it's that sleep-wake cycle. It can change with age, and it's directly related to how your brain responds to light and dark. When your body is sleeping, feeding, and overall well-being, that's what the circadian rhythm regulates. And it really makes a big difference for a lot of people, and sometimes especially for third shift workers. You think they're sleeping when it's light out, and then they're awake at night, and then on the days they don't have to go into work, their whole sleep-wake cycle is just off, crazy. They can't, the light, darkness, it's changed their whole brain. So that's why it is so hard for third shift workers to get that good sleep cycle. The next one there, our bodies produce more melatonin when the sun sets, and there is a direct correlation with us feeling sleepy. So to control this kind of stuff, it's best to have regular sleep schedules. So try to go to bed at the same time, around the same time every night, and get up around the same time every morning. I find that sometimes on weekends, I'm sleeping in. Maybe on Saturdays is usually my day where I want to sleep in. And I sleep in until 9 or 10 sometimes. I wake up and I feel I'm more tired that day from getting too much sleep. There is a thing as too much sleep, where then your body just gets in that mode where it's still feeling sluggish and tired. And so sometimes I feel better when I only get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Your body really knows when it wants to wake up and how much sleep it's gotten. Because sometimes I'll wake up and I'll just lay in bed and then I end up falling back asleep. Well, if I would have just got up that first time, I probably would have felt way better. So just paying attention to that. Has anyone ever tried taking a melatonin supplement? Is anyone familiar with melatonin? Did it work for you?
Well, when I took it, it was on a long flight, I think, so you could sleep at night.
Flight, okay.
Or, when the plane was,
Yeah.
and it was a supplement that way. Other than that, no, I haven't taken it.
Okay, and then you've tried one? And you said it worked? Yeah.
I didn't think it worked.
Yeah, so it can really vary on the person. Sometimes someone will try a melatonin supplement and it's not a good quality supplement. So your body is not even really absorbing that melatonin. So it is important when you are taking a supplement to make sure that it is a good quality supplement. Talking to a nutritionist, a pharmacist, or a dietitian that knows what brands are high quality. Another thing is the dosing. Sometimes people will try melatonin and they're not taking enough, or something like that, the dose is off, or someone just might not have a melatonin issue. Maybe there's something else that is disrupting their sleep and they don't even need melatonin. So melatonin and cortisol are two hormones that the brain produces. So when we're awake, right now, our bodies should be having high cortisol levels. We should have energy during the day. So our cortisol hormone should be high right now. Later tonight, when it starts getting dark and our body knows that it's time to go to bed, our cortisol levels should be going down and our melatonin levels should be going up. So that melatonin is what helps our brains and our bodies get that sleep. So it really is polar opposites. Cortisol is supposed to be high during the day, melatonin is supposed to be low. When we go to sleep, it's switched. So doctors do look at cortisol and melatonin when people do have sleep issues. That's why they'll suggest a melatonin supplement. There are some doctors that will even test cortisol. It's actually done through a saliva test, and patients will have to take samples throughout the day of their saliva, and then it's sent into a lab, and it's tested throughout the day to see, okay, are your cortisol levels very low during the day, or are they spiking at night? Sometimes people that wake up every night around 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. and they can't get back to sleep, that's one of the signs that you might have cortisol issues, where your cortisol all of a sudden is getting produced at that time, and then you're waking up and you don't know why. So those are just some suggestions to talk to your doctor about in case you ever do have some sleeping issues. All right. So the next one there, it says 5 ways to boost your energy levels. So number 1, better understand your body clock. Again, reference the circadian rhythm. The key is to get enough sunshine. 20 minutes a day is recommended by direct sunlight or bright artificial light. How many of you in here think you get 20 minutes of direct sunlight a day? I have never, maybe sometimes, on some days, right? But every day, that's really hard to do. So we try to talk to people about, even in the morning, if there is a window in your home that has a lot of sun coming in, maybe sit right in front of that window for 10 minutes, drink your coffee, eat your breakfast. Getting that direct sun will really help to naturally produce vitamin D. Vitamin D is very important for our immune system and our energy levels. If you can go for a walk, getting that direct sunlight outside, and then if you can't get that natural sunlight, buying something called a happy lamp. Has anyone ever heard of artificial sun lamps before? Not the tanning bed lights. Yeah, does it give you a headache or something?
It bothers me totally.
Yeah, so some people don't really like them. Other people, like my coworker, she has to have one in the winter because her office doesn't have any windows, and so she's just, oh my gosh, I need that. So she's noticed a really good improvement from it. I mean, Happy Lamp is just one brand. There's a lot of different ones out there, but it does make a really big difference for people. So that's something that you can look into. Number 2, keep up regular physical activity and participate in winter activities. Consider indoor physical activities such as walking, yoga, workout DVDs. There's so many different things that you can do if you're just researching. I'm sure the library might have even exercise videos that so I know a lot of libraries have a lot of different options that you can just throw it in your TV. I go to a lot of different senior apartment centers, and they will get groups together, throw in a DVD, do it with each other. It's good to find a buddy, someone else to keep you motivated. I know that helps me and my friend. We try to go to the gym in the mornings, hold each other accountable. So that's nice if you can try to find a group and join it that way.
We also have Hoopla, which is downloadable through your computer or probably a smart TV when you could get it. And because it has lots of movies besides other things, but the movies. And I noticed the other day that there was some exercise videos on there. So yeah, and we have books on exercise.
Yes, that show pictures, explanations.
So, lots of different things.
Yeah, and I feel like this day and age, people are really trying to push exercise. I know when I moved to Madison 10 years ago, there were like 2 main gyms. Now I feel there's a gym on every block. I cannot believe the amount of gyms that are in Madison now, fitness centers. Senior centers are even starting to put on fitness programs. So it's really important because doctors know it's a direct correlation with your health. If you incorporate exercise, it's going to change your health. So always important. Number 3, eat a variety of foods with an emphasis on fruits and vegetables. We crave sweets, so be cautious and focus on healthy proteins, also healthy fats. A long time ago, everyone's like, fat is bad. Don't eat fat. But when you look at healthy fats, not the bad fats like trans fat or saturated fats, when we look at things such as avocado, certain nuts, certain fish, olive oil. There's really good fats that we can incorporate into our diet as long as you're able to. Some fats, such as coconut oil, might have extra cholesterol in it, so it's always good to talk to a dietitian before you start changing up all your foods, just to know if there's something that you should be avoiding. But looking at healthy fats is very important. Trying to decrease the sugar, decreasing those unhealthy carbohydrates. So instead of eating white bread, try to look for a whole grain bread, an actual hearty bread, because it's got fiber, it's got omegas in it. It will help you feel full way longer than a slice of wheat bread or white bread. And a lot of times those breads can have excess sugars in them. So sugar can be hidden in ingredient labels. When you look at an ingredient label, and if you see a word on the ingredient label that ends in OSE, it's usually a sugar. We see so many things that have high fructose corn syrup in it, and that's a very concentrated sugar. We see that in breads, we see it in ketchups, salad dressings. It's good if you can to make your own dressings if possible. It's pretty easy. You can get some ingredients, throw them together, make your own. And so there's a lot of different food alternatives to look at too that can help with that. Even yogurts, you have to be very cautious of yogurts that have high sugar in it. So looking at maybe getting a plain Greek yogurt that has extra protein in it and adding your own fresh fruit. That is such a good alternative. Or using plain Greek yogurt instead of sour cream. That's also a really good alternative. It tastes almost exactly the same. I always trick my husband with that one. He doesn't even notice the difference. And then one thing is eating a variety of vegetables. So sometimes people are like, I only eat carrots and corn and peas. That's all I ever want to eat. But if you try to incorporate a variety of vegetables, it has a direct connection with helping your gut microbiome. So helping your gut stay healthy. For example, a doctor that I used to work with, he would swear by this. Every morning he would pick a bunch of different vegetables, put them up in this blender, put some water in it, and just chug it down. There's better ways of taking that because it does not taste good if you do it that way. But he would even go to the Asian market and say that he would look for vegetables that look like the aliens because they're different and they're adding diversity to his diet. So making sure you have variety in your vegetables. Having variety in your meats won't make a difference on your gut. It's specifically vegetables. Variety of vegetables will help improve gut health for most people. Number 4, socialize. It is so important. This is one of the biggest things that healthcare providers are starting to stress. Especially as we age, it's very common for people to withdraw, be isolated, not get out. So doing something like this is directly having a positive impact on your brain health. So they looked at a lot of things on how socialization affects brain health, and there is such a positive correlation. So trying to do anything you can to stay social, getting out, interacting with people, even if it's you're shopping and you say hi to someone, start up a small conversation, any social interaction can help to improve brain health. Getting out of the house, regularly scheduling visits with family and friends, even trying new activities, a new restaurant. If you ever think of new things that you've ever wanted to do, just trying that. Make a list so that way you have a bunch of options to pick from when you're kind of feeling bored in the winter. Okay, what do I want to do? Then you have a list of things to do. All right, number 5, pamper yourself. So it doesn't need to cost anything. Consider taking a nice relaxing bath, reading a favorite book, lighting some candles that smell good, or using essential oils. Those can really help your senses. Lavender is calming. Citrus scents are energizing and invigorating. So if you've never tried essential oils, they can make a huge difference on your mood, especially in the winter. There's so many out there, so it can kind of be overwhelming. So it's good to talk to maybe a health food store and see which ones they would recommend. Because essential oils, even like supplements, you can get good quality ones and bad quality ones. So always making sure to do a little bit of research. Spending more time with your significant other or just anyone that makes you feel good. All of these raise serotonin and oxytocin, which are feel-good hormones that improve your mood. So anything you can think of that helps you relax, you really want to try to incorporate, especially in the winter months. Some more ideas for the winter blues. Set a challenging goal and be focused in on reaching this goal. So has anyone ever set a goal in their whole lifetime and accomplished it? Some of you, yes. So what does that feel like? You feel amazing once you accomplish that goal. So my husband has 1,000,000 goals because he's redoing our whole house. Yes, so we bought this house. It was built in the 60s, and we bought it because we loved the land that it was on. It's beautiful property, but the house is very old, and he made goals. He's like, I'm going to fix this, I'm going to fix this. Granted, he will start a project and then not finish it. I mean, there's a lot of those that are happening. But a lot of times when he finally does finish that project, he says he feels amazing because he set a goal and he accomplished it. In your brain, it's like a reward system, right? So setting goals and finishing them will always make you happy. I try to do that too. I love art. I love painting and drawing. So sometimes I'll set a goal of, I'm going to draw this picture. For my brother's 40th birthday, I'm like, I'm going to draw him a picture of a wolf because I know he loves it. So I set that goal. And once I finished that drawing, it made me feel so good that I accomplished something. So always keeping that in your mind too is setting goals and accomplishing them can definitely help you feel good. How about volunteering? Has anyone ever volunteered before? Yes. So at SSM Health, we're always looking for hospice volunteers. We have a lot of volunteer opportunities. So if you're ever looking for anything new to do, we're always needing volunteers. It's something we can never get enough of. So other things, I love volunteering for animal types of stuff. I love animals. So going in and my husband's a part of a nonprofit, so we do a ton of volunteering through his veterans nonprofit, helping veterans, helping families. So just also another thing that really makes you feel good, and that's something that since you do have usually extra time in the winter, you have more time to fit in some volunteering hours. Library, yes. Good plug. Express gratitude for simple things. This is one of the easiest things we can do. So every single morning, I would encourage you guys to try this, even if you only did it for 3 days straight. Hopefully you can do it for a week straight, and then it's going to be more common. Right when you wake up, the very, very first thing you do when you wake up, think of something you're grateful for. It can be the very tiniest thing. It can be, I am grateful that the sun is shining and it's not dark out. It can be, I am grateful that I'm alive today. It can be anything. When you wake up and the very first thing that you think of is positive, it can set the whole tone for your day. Because so many times people focus on the negative. It's very easy to focus on the negative. So sometimes you really have to work hard at training your brain to think positively. Another thing that can be helpful with this is keeping a journal of positive things. So literally just writing down every day one thing you're grateful for. And then when you're having a hard day or you're stressed, you can go back to that journal and you can read all the things that you feel you're grateful for and make you happy.
I had read last year, in the beginning of the year, of once a week, write down something positive that happened that week, put it in a jar, and once a year you read all of them.
That's awesome.
Well, I'm alone, so Christmas Day is normally a really struggle.
Yeah,
The
it
only
is
day
for
of the
other
year.
people, yeah.
And this year was wonderful. I went to the Echo Dinner, and also that afternoon, I took them all out and read them and started all over again.
And it already, like your brain, you're reading that, and
I had a great day.
because you know you wrote that down.
And you know.
And you remember
Yes.
that event then.
Yep, exactly. That's why it's nice to keep journals. We also talk about keeping health journals too, because you know when you go to the doctor, you don't have that much time with them. Unfortunately, we need more healthcare practitioners in our healthcare system as a whole. But if you keep a health journal even of things that you might be concerned about, new symptoms, then take that journal with you to the doctor's office. It will make much greater use of your time when you're talking to your doctor. You won't forget things that you wanted to talk about. You might forget certain things that you've noticed that now it's in your journal, so you won't forget them. So yeah, journaling can be a really amazing thing. The next one there, keep your routine consistent. So sometimes people that are all over the board, they don't have a consistent routine. It can cause them anxiety and stress. But some people like that. Some people like the extra, changes and things like that. But keeping a consistent routine can be very beneficial as well. Turning on lights before it gets dark. So that's another thing that's very important. Because again, our brains, once that darkness sets in, it almost immediately thinks, oh my gosh, I need to go to bed. So when you're in the living room, making sure that there's enough lighting, because then that lighting is going to trigger your brain to want to stay awake more. When it is ready, time to get ready to go to bed, dim your lights, because again, if you have bright lights right before you're going to go to bed, your brain is going to have a harder time shutting off and getting that rest. So again, light, dark, it really affects our brain. The next one there, music or movies. So if there's a comedy that you know always puts you in a good mood, mine is Dumb and Dumber. I don't know if any of you ever seen that movie. By far my most favorite movie. I never get sick of it. My husband gets sick of it all the time, but I can watch that movie all the time, and it puts me in a good mood. His is basically any movie with John Candy. You know, I love those older comedians. I find those older comedy movies so much more appealing than today's comedies. So if you have a specific song that you know you can put on, puts you in a good mood, just keeping track of things that you know will make you happy in that moment. The next one, practice relaxation. So has anyone ever done meditation in here? No one. Yes, I'm excited because at the very end, we're going to do a 5-minute meditation that I have on my phone. Just for you guys, if you don't want to participate, that's totally fine. You don't have to do anything crazy. Just sit in your chair and we'll do a 5-minute meditation. But it can make a huge difference on stress, sleeping issues. There's a lot of things that meditation is showing to help improve. So a lot of doctors are actually starting to talk to people about it. Because we know that when we're stressed, our blood pressure levels go up. And blood pressure can affect a lot of different things in our body, especially our heart. So meditation has shown to decrease blood pressure. So we'll do that at the very end. The next one there, get enough vitamin D. So it says there 41.6% have vitamin D deficiency. It might be higher. That's just kind of a rough estimate. Has anyone ever had their vitamin D levels checked? You have. Was it low? So did they recommend supplementation? Did it make you feel better after you started taking vitamin D? Oh. Well, that's a key thing. You got to do it to see improvements.
I wasn't tested, but my doctor wanted me to take it, so I take a gummy vitamin D every day.
A gummy? Okay, yeah, and sometimes the gummies can work for some people. Sometimes it doesn't absorb, the body doesn't absorb gummies very well, so just be mindful of improvements you may or may not be seeing. But I will tell you, people who are deficient in vitamin D and they take a good quality vitamin D supplement, they notice a world of change, especially with their energy levels. That's one of the biggest things. Their immune system, some people are getting sick a lot, and their vitamin D levels, they find out, are low. So vitamin D directly supports your immune system as well, your bones. There's so many different things that vitamin D benefits, and that's why they're like, oh, it's flu season, and people think that they're getting sick just because it's winter and it's cold, but it's because our bodies are low in vitamin D in the winter. We're not getting enough sunlight, and our bodies aren't producing enough vitamin D. So our immune systems are low, so we're much more susceptible to getting sick in the winter. That's why it's so hard for people to fight off these flus that come around, because their immune function. And sometimes people might only need to take vitamin D in the winter months. So always ask your doctor if you're ever fatigued, if you're tired, if you're getting sick a lot, or if you're just curious. And they can do a vitamin D test. It's just a blood test. But yeah, it's definitely a very, very important test to try. Are there any other suggestions that you guys have, things that you have done that have made you feel better during the winter? Any other tips for the group?
I made a New Year's resolution that the last thing I would do at night would think of something that happened that day that was positive or I enjoyed, and just say it to myself.
Yeah. End the day on a positive note. How about taking trips? That always makes us happy. You have something to look forward to, even if it's a weekend trip. It doesn't have to be a fancy cruise or a big vacation. Planning something in the future that you have to look forward to. a weekend getaway, or even a day trip. You know, it can be the smallest things, but if you plan it and you have it in your calendar, it will be something that your brain is thinking of that will motivate you. So having that, yeah.
I don't get depressed that much, but if I'm having a day where I am down,
Yeah.
I like to go out to K&W.
Yeah.
Walk around the
there you
building.
go.
Yes.
Plants and
Yes.
stuff.
When we're around plants, all that extra oxygen, right? Yes, it can
And it's
definitely.
warm.
Yep. Yes, the
That's right,
warmth.
sunny
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, and the smells. Those smells can really trigger a lot of happiness and thoughts and things like that. So.
And sometimes, because I am so busy with work and other things, I don't always have time for the things I love to do.
Right.
My crafts, I sew, I
Yeah.
bead, I crochet, I do lots of different things, but I find I don't have time.
Right.
So when I force myself to have time for that,
Mhm.
I feel so much better.
Yes, or even like spending time with animals. How many of you guys have pets? Yeah.
What about planning on your garden?
Yeah.
Going to
Oh,
buy
yeah.
seeds,
Gardening.
looking at a seed.
Yep.
Yeah, because the seed catalogs are coming out.
There's so many things. If you literally just sat down and started thinking of things that really bring you happiness, you write them all down. Again, when you're having like a blah day, or you're just looking for something, you look back in that book and be like, oh, that's right, I really enjoyed doing this. I'm going to do this today. So just always thinking of things that make you happy. And the biggest thing is being proactive. A lot of times people will just kind of ignore their symptoms, whether it's health related or depression or anxiety, and they think it'll go away. Always making sure you're mindful of how you're feeling and addressing it. Don't forget about it. Talking to a doctor if needed, talking to a counselor, talking to a friend or family member. That's the biggest thing, is to be proactive. And then also in the packet it says informational visits. That's basically just a visit from one of our social workers. Is that in your packet? No? Oh, sorry. For some reason it's not. But anyway, we do offer informational visits with our social workers. So if you guys ever have any questions on anything related to home health services, there's no charge to speak with one of our medical social workers about it. Even if you're a Mercy patient, we see all types of patients. All right, so now the fun part. Since none of you have ever tried meditation, I want to go through, it's only 5 minutes long, and it's an app you can put on your phone if anyone has a smartphone. It's called Headspace, and it's free, and you get 10 minutes of meditation courses for free. I'm going to actually use this microphone so that you guys can hear it better. So with meditation, the biggest thing for it is to just be present and to try to clear your mind. That is the biggest thing for meditation. Trying to relax, trying to listen and pay attention. So this first one that is on here, you start with either your eyes open or closed, whatever you feel comfortable with, and then he'll lead you through closing your eyes and just thinking. Breathing is huge. Has anyone ever done breathing exercises before? That can immediately take your anxiety levels way down. Breathing exercises. So you could just be sitting, you take a deep breath in, you hold it for 7 seconds, and you release it for 10 seconds. Just that alone will help your anxiety. So I'm gonna go sit over here so I'm not staring at you guys the whole time while we're doing this meditation. All right.
Hi. Over the next 10 sessions, I'm going to show you a really simple way of getting some more headspace in your life. And don't worry if you've never done anything like this before. This is a really straightforward technique, and I'm going to talk you through every step of the way. All you need to do is to sit back, relax, and allow the body and mind to unwind. So just take a moment to get comfortable. Doesn't matter whether you're sitting on a chair, on the floor, whatever feels best. But I'd like you to begin with your eyes open. Not staring too intently, just aware of the space around you. And just maintaining that soft focus with the eyes. Just starting with a couple of big deep breaths, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. As you breathe in, just feeling the lungs expand as they fill with air. And as you breathe out, Just noticing how the muscles soften as the body exhales. Just one more time. And as you breathe out this time, just gently closing the eyes and allowing the breath to return to its natural rhythm, in and out through the nose. So just take a moment just to feel the weight of the body pressing down against the seat beneath you. The feet on the floor, the hands, the arms just resting on the legs. Starting to notice the space around you, any sounds. Just allowing those sounds to come and go. And then just bringing the attention back to the body. Just noticing how the body feels right now. And just to help with this, starting at the top of the head, just gently scanning down through the body. Noticing what feels comfortable, what feels uncomfortable. Smooth, even, steady, from head to toe. And as you scan down, just starting to notice the movement of breath in the body. How the breath creates a rising and falling sensation. For some people that's in the stomach, for others the chest, sometimes the diaphragm. If you can't feel anything, just gently placing your hand on the stomach. But just noticing that movement. Don't worry if your mind wanders off, that's perfectly normal. As soon as you realize it's wandered, just gently bring the attention back to the breath again. Starting to notice whether the breaths are long or short, deep or shallow. And then just for a few seconds, letting go of that focus on the breath and just allowing the mind to do whatever it wants to do. So if it's been wanting to think, just let it think now. And then bringing the attention back to the body again. Just coming back to that feeling of weight pressing down. Perhaps noticing the sounds around you again. And you can just open your eyes in your own time. And ask yourself how that feels, having taken a few minutes out of the day. So whether there's a greater sense of calm, perhaps clarity. Don't worry if there's still lots of thoughts running around. That's very normal at this stage, and the mind can change a lot from day to day. But before you jump up right now, just take a few moments to sit back and appreciate how good it feels to get a little more headspace. And I look forward to seeing you back here soon for session 2.
All right, what do you guys think? Not many of us will do that during the day. It's very stressful, can be busy, but once you really master meditation, you can really shut your thoughts off, and it can really bring a lot of peace. So that's just an example of a short meditation. I'd highly encourage you guys to look into doing more of that and really bringing that throughout your routine.
We're going to have another Senior Moments program in May, Meditation 101. So we'll have somebody come in, talk about meditation, what it is, why we bother, and then guide us through a couple of different meditations.
That is awesome.
So-
Hopefully all of you can attend that. So.
And then also, I believe also in May, we're partnering with Rotary Gardens for garden meditation.
Oh my gosh.
They'll have different meditation stations throughout. I think that's like on the 13th of May, but I don't remember. You'll have to check the calendar. And then ours is, of course, is always the second Friday of each month. And you'll be coming back in June, is that correct?
Yep, I can't remember the
And
exact date.
we're going to talk about bullying.
Yes.
Because it's not just for children,
Right.
unfortunately.
And I like to focus more of maintaining positive relationships as we age, because our relationships change so much. So not just bullying, but that's a big part of the presentation. So yeah, hopefully you guys can make it to that as well. So does anyone have any questions or anything else before we end? All right, well, thank you guys so much for coming and braving the weather. I appreciate you guys having me here.
And thank you for coming.
Thank you.